getting the form right and getting it correct from the offset is key to getting a positive result the first time round. Aim of today is just basically for me to go over things like the personal independence payment, which I think could be very relevant to people today. I'm going to go through the eligibility, the process of applying, medical assessment, and what to do if you're not happy with the outcome. I've got some really useful resources as well at each point for you to look at, so that you know where you can go for support. So yeah, it is going to be a whistle stop tour, just because PIP is very complex, and I could sit here all day and talk about personal independence payment. So I'll try and keep to the main points today. And I know I'm not there to answer any questions today, but I am happy for Karen to give out my personal email. So if there is something that you want to ask, rather than ask today in front of everybody else, you want to ask me personally, that's absolutely fine, and I will happily do that. So I will try and share my screen. I can sit and talk all day. Technology is not my strong point, but I'm going to try. So just bear with. So the aim today is just to talk about some issues and things around the personal independence payment. So like I said, the objectives is to let you know what type of payment, what type of benefit, what type of benefit and who administers the personal independence payment. The benefit journey, like I've said before, personal independence payment is a long drawn out process, and it does scare a lot of people. So hopefully I can just make that seem a lot less scary today by going through that with you. Talk about personal independence payment in a bit more depth, as in the descriptors and things that you have to fill out, and again, try and make them a bit less scary. There will be a chance at the end if you wanted to ask questions, but like I said, if you don't feel that you want to ask those, as personal independence payment is quite personal and based on personal circumstances. So I totally understand if there aren't any questions and that you prefer to ask me those at a later date. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so what is personal independence payment? So in a nutshell, it is a disability payment that is paid by the government. It is paid through DWP, the Department of Work and Pensions. They also use a company called Capita, who do the assessments that are needed for the personal independence payment. So when you apply for PIP, there are different people involved in different parts of the process. Again, nothing to be scared about. It all works really well. And if you ever have been through that process or will go through that process, that does become clearer by what I mean by that. Where can you get information about personal independence payment regarding eligibility? A lot of people, because it's a disability payment, don't think that they're eligible, and just sort of don't even look into it and things, which is absolutely understandable. A lot of people think of a disability payment as somebody can't walk, has quite severe disabilities. It isn't the case. My background is actually working with people with mental health, so I help fill in personal independence payments for people with mental health, and it is about making people with different disabilities and different health conditions actually realise that those questions when it comes to the descriptors actually are relevant for you. So the first one I wanted to show was, okay, so Turn to Us is a charity, and their website is absolutely amazing. They actually cover all kinds of benefits and information for benefit, but their PIP information is absolutely amazing. You can actually go onto the Turn to Us website, and you can actually do like a mock test. So it will go through the descriptors, and it will start adding up what the points are, and it will tell you whether or not you're eligible, or give you an idea of how many points you could get, which would then mean that you could think about whether you want to apply and things. So this is the Turn to Us website. Like I said, there's videos on there. Is information on eligibility. The next step is doing the test, which will give you an idea of the application and things like that. So that absolutely, if everyone's going to send anyone anywhere, it would be Turn to Us. Also, if there were other benefits that you might be entitled to, Turn to Us is another one that we use for a benefits check. Again, a lot of people don't think that they are entitled to benefits. Always worth a check. The benefits check tool on here is a really useful tool, and I use it every day, multiple times a day with clients. So definitely worth a look at that. So back to PIP. So PIP is what we call a non-means tested benefit. So non-means tested means that you can apply for PIP and it wouldn't affect anybody else in the household that was claiming benefits. It wouldn't affect any of your other benefits if you were claiming benefits. You can work while receiving PIP, which is something a lot of people aren't aware of, is that you can work while receiving PIP. So yeah, it's non-means tested, and multiple people in the household as well can apply for PIP. So that is also another good one. If there was lots of you in the house that had illnesses or disabilities, then you can all claim it. It doesn't affect each other's claims. So how to actually claim PIP? So once you have done your bit of research and you know that you're definitely eligible for PIP, then you have to, unfortunately, PIP is one of the only benefits that you can't apply for online. It will be a case of giving them a ring through the PIP claim line. If you go into the government website and go onto PIP, it does give you the number there for the claim line. The claim line will want to just have a general chat to you, and there are some bits of information that they need. They want to know things like your doctor's surgery. They won't ask you about your medical conditions. That's something that is put on later on, but they ask you about any medical professionals and things that they may need to contact later down the line, and which some people find strange. They will ask you for your bank details, and the reason that they ask you for your bank details is that PIP is a long process. It isn't something that is that you receive payment for straight away, like some other benefits. And generally 9 times out of 10, if you are eligible for PIP after you've had your assessment and everything else, you will generally receive a payment before you receive a notification letter to say that you're entitled to PIP, which isn't always a bad thing. But sometimes that's how people find out that they've actually been awarded PIP, is that they get a payment first. The other good thing about making the phone call is that PIP is backdated. So it will be backdated to actually to the day that you made the phone call. So if this process, for instance, takes 8, 12, 16, 24 weeks, once you are confirmed that you are going to receive PIP, it is backdated all those weeks, which I've seen people, these kind of things go on for months and months and months if it's gone to appeal, and I've seen people have tens of thousands of pounds. It's so it definitely does have its benefits that you make the phone call first. There are 2 options when it comes to applying for PIP. If you're like me, I would prefer to have the old paper copy, and they will send that out in the post. They do offer now a link to be sent to you via email, and you can log in on the app and fill in the form online. And then you are updated by text messages from the DWP at each stage to say that they've received it, that they're looking at it, and etc., etc. I prefer a paper copy, and the reason I prefer a paper copy is that somebody can help you with that. You can sit down, you can read the form, you can make sure that everything's filled in. Because like I said, it is quite a complex kind of process. When you receive your form, there will be a sort of deadline that it needs to be sent back by. It can be really overwhelming. It really can. You feel like you've got this deadline. For many people, a personal independence claim is it's very personal. There's lots of things that go on there about your health conditions, and people struggle with that. And if I can give anybody any advice, it would be to have somebody fill in the form with you, whether that be somebody that you know, whether that be somebody from Citizens Advice who offer an amazing service of form filling, and they will sit with you for 2 hours or more if you need it and go through the form with you. Sometimes when you're sat talking and explaining your situation, it makes you realise things that you probably didn't realise, which are very relevant to a PIP claim. So it does have its benefits. I appreciate that there are people that don't want to sit in front of a stranger and talk about these kind of situations. And again, it's all down to personal preference. It's just with PIP, getting the form right and getting it correct from the offset is key to getting a positive result the first time round. If you can gather as much information as well from any healthcare professionals, and put that in with the form from, like I say, from the get-go, makes such a difference. It means that they've got everything they need when they receive that claim form back as well, they'll have all that knowledge ready for when you move on to having your assessment. Filling in the form, I have got a brief outline of the descriptors, which I'm just gonna show. If I can. Right, so personal independent. Okay, so when you get your form, you won't see the points next to each of the descriptors. This is just something that is on the the Citizens Advice website. So it gives you an idea of how many points you will score. And I hate saying that, I really do. But unfortunately, you will be scored points against your answers that you give on the application form. It feels like a very strange way to assess somebody, but I also understand why they do it. I mean, they have lots of different people claiming for different things. So it does seem strange, but it works. So for instance, you will be asked questions on daily living activities, and then the separate part of the form is mobility, and they are paid and split into two separate parts. So you may not qualify for daily living, but you may qualify for mobility. That's absolutely fine. You may qualify for both, but at different levels. So you need to get 8 points to get the standard rate of either of the parts. So you could get 8 points for daily living, you could get 12 or 15 points for the mobility. So you're paid at different rates. Standard rate at the moment for daily living is £72.65 a week, which could make a lot of difference to somebody each week. Enhanced rate is £108.55. Again, that's, if you work that over a month and additional income. Mobility is £28.70 for standard rate and £75.75 for the enhanced rate. There's also the option to take part in the mobility car scheme, which has been going on for a long time. You can opt in for that and have a car instead of the money. The money is designed to help with any additional cost that you have with your health conditions or disabilities. So for instance, if you are needing special food, special diet, so you need to buy special food, we're all very aware that those cost a lot of extra money compared to standard food. Obviously, if you're needing a carer, so if you're needing somebody to come in and help you in the house for whatever reason because you can't carry out certain tasks, that is additional money that you are paying out of your pocket. This is what personal independence is for, is to help with any additional costs that come with your health conditions and disabilities. Personal independence payment isn't, unfortunately, based on your health conditions and your disabilities. It is based on how your health conditions and disabilities affect you day to day. And that is why these questions are set out the way they are. So we've got preparing food. So to give you an example, if you couldn't unscrew a jar without buying something to help you do that, for grip, then you would automatically get 2 points for that. So as you're building a picture up, obviously you need 8 points to get the standard rate. So it isn't a lot when you look at the scores here, but it is just obviously trying to prove in the application that you obviously fit into these categories. When I'm looking at these kind of things from a mental health point of view as well, concentration and things like, do you need supervision because you might get easily distracted and leave something in the oven, leave the oven on? So, you might need somebody to be with you when you're cooking. Again, that comes under need supervision or assistance to either prepare or cook a simple meal. That would be 4 points. So again, it is about really taking time and thinking about how you fit into these descriptors, and take your time, and answer the questions as best you can. Taking nutrition is one. Again, that is about eating and drinking. Always, again, if you get support from someone like Citizens Advice, they will talk to you about these in depth, and they can put a spin on the question to make it very relevant to your situation. Again, that's why it's always good if you want to and you're willing, is to get that support from someone to fill in these forms. Managing or monitoring a health condition, that is based on things like your medication and anything that you're taking. Washing and bathing, again, isn't just as simple as can you wash yourself and things. It can be down to, are you looking after yourself the way that we would expect somebody to look after themselves with hygiene, and things. Can you stand in the shower for a long time? It's not as simple as sometimes as the question may come along, as may look. Some of these, like I said, the managing toilet needs and incontinence, some of these questions might not be relevant to you, and that's perfectly fine as well. Don't feel like because you haven't answered every question as well that there's no point sending the form back. I haven't answered 2 out of the 10 descriptors. Honestly, not everybody is going to fall into every descriptor, under every descriptor. Communicating verbally, that could be, again, can you hold a conversation with someone? Can you get involved in a conversation? Can you even remember a conversation and everything that was talked about? Reading and understanding. This covers obviously the practical things. Do you wear glasses? Do you wear contact lenses? And things in there. Let's have a look. Engaging with others face to face. This again is one that I use very regularly with mental health, is people engaging with other people, and how that affects them. There's things about managing your money. Mobility. So mobility is actually split into 2 parts. So you get your very obvious how your health condition, disability affects you physically walking, but you also get the planning and following journeys, which is broken down into layman's terms, is how you are actually going out of the house. Do you need somebody with you? Do you not go out at all? And how that affects you. So it isn't just about a physical disability when it comes to mobility. Again, always worth looking over that and making and getting somebody to explain that to you in more depth. Let me just come out of here. Okay. So once you have filled in the paper form and you're happy that you have filled that in and everything is in there, you need to post that back. If you're going to send anything, please either send it recorded delivery and make sure that you take copies. The reason that we say that is I know that it can cost extra money, and I know it's not cheap to send things recorded delivery. If that goes missing, DWP are not gonna, they're not gonna, that's not gonna be their problem, unfortunately. They're just gonna want you to do it again. If you've taken a copy, it'll be as simple as putting the copy in the post and sending it straight back. So it's about keeping copies of everything. If then the decision doesn't go your way, you have got copies as well then for later on if you need to take those steps. What comes next is what scares a lot of people, and it is a scary thought about having a medical assessment. And unfortunately, there are lots of scary stories out there about people that have had medical assessments and things for personal independence payment. Nothing I say is going to make that any better, unfortunately. I mean, you know, everybody is going to be daunted by having a medical assessment. They do the medical assessments at the moment in a various different ways. Since COVID, they've introduced things like telephone assessments, which were not part of the process before COVID, where you can have a telephone appointment with somebody from a company. Normally it's Capita, and they will ring you up and they will discuss in more detail points from what you wrote on the form, if they've got some questions about some things that you've written or need clarifying. Don't be afraid. Don't ever be afraid of having somebody with you. If it's a telephone appointment, have the phone on loudspeaker, have somebody there with you who can help you, you know, if you're getting a bit overwhelmed, even prompt you and help you if they think that you've missed something out that you haven't mentioned, and or you've misunderstood a question and they think that they can help you answer the question. Don't ever be afraid to have support. You know, you don't need to do these kind of interviews alone. They will go into depth. These kind of assessments can be, like I said, they can be stressful. And you're speaking to a stranger and you're speaking about personal things. Obviously, you know, you just need to remind yourself that, you know, the reason that you're there, you 100% believe in yourself that you're entitled to this benefit, you know, and that's why that, you know, they're asking you these questions. They will then, so there are a lot, like I explained earlier, lots of different people involved in PIP applications. They then send that off, everything that they have, all the notes that they've taken from that day, to what's called a decision maker that works for DWP. The decision makers then are the ones that look at the points and score you your points. For whatever reason, some of the time, point scoring system, the results are not what we would expect them to be, for whatever reason, for what was said on the day, whatever was interpreted on the day during your assessment. They will then write to you and let you know the outcome in a decision notice. Now, like I explained earlier, sometimes decision notices can take quite a while to be posted out to you and arrive. If you are awarded, sometimes the payments can start before, or your payment could go into the bank before you even know that you've been accepted. So sometimes that does happen. The decision notice will come, and it is so important that when you get that decision notice, to check everything that is written on that decision notice. Even if you're awarded PIP, it could be that you were given 11 points and you were 1 point off being in the enhanced rate, and there might be something on there that you think, well, actually I was expecting 6 points there instead of 4, you know, and you might feel that it's worth, you know, disputing that. If you're going to dispute something, it is always worth getting a second opinion. And again, this is where places like Turn to Us, Citizens Advice, play a massive part. If you take your decision notice into somewhere like that and sit with a specialist, they can look at you and they can realistically say, okay, I think that this is right. I think that they've got it right for this reason, whatever reason. You know, obviously the decision will be yours at the end of the day, whether you do continue to dispute it. But you obviously have to take into consideration when disputing something with DWP, it can change the outcome of the whole claim. Because if they relook at it, they probably relook at the whole claim. But don't ever be afraid to speak up if you do strongly disagree with something. You know, don't let it lie. You know, that's your right to question it. Unfortunately, like I said, there are a lot of cases that people are very adamant that they are entitled to PIP, and when it comes back with a decision notice that they've been turned down, and they've been turned down to quite an extent. So it could be that you scored no points when you were in fact expecting to score, 8 or more. It can be so disheartening, and we see people every day that get these kind of outcomes, and and how upset it makes them, and how it can knock your confidence and make you question everything. It is so important that if you still strongly believe that you're entitled to that benefit, that you take the next steps. Don't let them tell you that you're not entitled if you think you are. It is so important that you take it to the next step. Obviously, again, it is important that you get support when you're doing these kind of things to make sure that the next steps are done properly. If you're going to challenge it, then the more support you can get and the more evidence and everything that we can get straight away, the better chance we have of making it a positive outcome further down the line. Citizens' advice, again, can help you with what's next. If you're not unhappy with anything and you want to challenge something, is what's called a mandatory reconsideration. A mandatory reconsideration, again, cannot be done online, unfortunately. It's one of the things where we have to print out the form. You can ring the PIP helpline and let them know that you're planning on putting in a mandatory reconsideration, and they will tell you the next steps and send out the form to you. When doing a mandatory reconsideration, it is always important to make it clear why you disagree. What parts you disagree with, what questions you disagree with, why you disagree with it. The assessor might put that they feel that, on good days, your good days outweigh your bad days. If I can give any advice, it would be steer clear of good days and bad days. They pick up very quickly on good days and bad days. So we tend to put on the form, if we help with forms, we tend to write things like, on a day where I'm in less pain, on a day where my shaking is less or better. We steer away from good days and bad days because, it does muddy the waters a little bit and can be misinterpreted. So we tend to find different ways to word those kind of things. So in your mandatory reconsideration, obviously make it clear why we disagree, and we send that back. And then what we are asking in a mandatory reconsideration, bottom line is, we disagree with your decision, and I want you to look at it again. I want you to read it all again, everything, evidence I sent, my application, right through to my medical assessment. I want you to go through it all. I want you to go through it thoroughly, and I want you to rescore it and see if the outcome is the same. We are seeing a lot more mandatory reconsiderations being overturned at that stage. It was the case before that mandatory reconsideration was just a process, and we sort of already knew that it wasn't going to get overturned at that stage. But things are slowly turning, and they are starting to overturn these things at this stage, so it doesn't go any further. If it is overturned, again, when you get that decision, check over everything and go through all the points that you've been awarded, and make sure that you're happy with that. And if you're not happy, or it isn't overturned, we go on to the next step, which again, for a lot of people, is a very scary thought. And it isn't as scary or as complex as it might sound. And that is actually going on to the Courts and Tribunal Service for an appeal. Now, an appeal isn't a straightforward process, but it's a long process, but it can be a simple process as well if you've got the right support that you need. Again, it starts off with a form which you can do online. You'd be happy to know they are. You do those online. It's called an SSCS1 form. Very simple. Considering that we're passing this on to Courts and Tribunal Service, it is such an easy process. The form is very simple. It's asking you what benefit you are appealing and why you're appealing it, and that's it. You will then get a bundle through the post, which is the scary part. This is a massive, massive bundle of information. It will include information about the appeals process, but it will also include information about all the information that you've sent before about your PIP claim. So there will be lots in there to go through. If I can give you any advice and good tips, it would be to take this along to your local citizens advice and ask for a specialist to go through this with you and help you pick out the relevant information. It can be really overwhelming and you can miss things, not understand things, misinterpret things. So this can all be clarified for you. And I do find from experience, this is where the nerves tend to disappear, because once it's explained to you and broken down, it makes much more sense. You will get a date to go in front of a panel. Again, really sounds like a really scary process. These panels are a good thing. I feel they actually have a medical professional sitting on the panel, which is always handy when you're talking to somebody that's got medical conditions and disabilities. I find, they will be well aware in advance of your health condition. They would have done research and know about the medication that you're taking, and how that benefits you and what that does. So when you go and sit in front of that panel, there's a wider pool of knowledge to make that decision. They will want to talk to you. Again, don't be afraid to take somebody with you, and help you with that. It's a very stressful situation, going and again having to speak about things that maybe you're not comfortable speaking about. Appeals are normally overturned, and I believe it is purely down to the wider spectrum of experts that you've got in front of you. That they're listening and they understand in more depth. If your appeal is not successful, then again, it is worth speaking to your local citizens advice and asking them to support you on what then is available for you to do, and getting them to help you from the very beginning. If you haven't had that support from the very beginning, and there's maybe something that you feel that you could add or be done in a more efficient way, then they can help you do that. If you can have the confidence to go and do that straight away, even better, because it's done right from the very beginning, and hopefully then you haven't got to put yourself through the whole appeals process or even the mandatory reconsideration process. And hopefully we get a good outcome from the very beginning. PIP is all about evidence, doing your research so that you make sure that you get everything on there that needs to be on there and that is relevant. There are lots of sites. Citizens Advice website, again, they have a very, very easy step-by-step guide, right from eligibility right the way through to appeals procedure on there, and it's written in very, very layman's terms for you to understand. But yeah, it is about just believing in yourself and trusting the process, that if you believe that you're eligible and you feel that you are eligible for this benefit, it is about persistence, and just making sure that you take full advantage of all the support and the expertise that is available for you to make these applications. I do fill these forms in on a daily basis, and that's why I said, there might be questions that are more personalised from you about actual descriptors, and how you personally fit into those descriptors. If you have any questions, please reach out to Karen for my email. And like I said, I'm more than happy to look at those on an individual basis, or give you the links to places where you might be able to get more local support for that, and help you with that. But it is a long drawn out process, but this benefit is one of the ones that people are afraid to take those steps to claim, because it is quite personal, and and things. But if you think you're entitled, please, it's the same old, it's the old saying, if you don't ask, you don't get. So, I would encourage you to even just log on and just have a look at the eligibility, and even just make a start at looking if you think that it is something that you would like to consider. So yeah, that is my stops tour of personal independence payment. Like I said, there is so much information here that I have just given you. But again, turn to us 100% if that's one that if you can write that down today and have a look at that in your own time in the Citizens Advice website and the government website as well for personal independence payment. They are the three main places, if you wanted to have a look in more depth in your own time after today, then yeah, they're the three places that I would have a look. But if you haven't made a claim and you're going to make a claim, then good luck with it. And like I said, it really is worth doing and persevering if you think you're eligible. So yeah.
Gemma, thank you very much for that very detailed chat. I hope you all found it useful. Because Gemma is online, we are going to take questions now for Gemma if anyone has any questions. But as she's very kindly offered, if anyone does want to get in touch with Gemma via ourselves, if you send an email to info@nervetumours.org.uk, we will then pass your details on to Gemma. Our helpline also may be able to help with some of the questions. So does anyone have any questions for Gemma? Well, Gemma, I think that was a resounding success and you covered everything. Oh, no, we have got a question, yes?
Is it taxable? Do you need to announce it to declare it in a self-assessment?
Gemma, the question is the benefit taxable? Do you need to declare it in self-assessment, please?
No, so it's non-means tested. So I have generally not come across anybody that has declared it for self-assessments. Obviously, I'm not the expert in things like that, so it's always worth checking. But I am pretty sure that because it's non-means tested and doesn't have an impact on things like you working or any other benefits or any other income coming into the house, I'm pretty sure that the answer is no, but always worth double checking.
So that's probably two questions. It's probably one, do you declare it? But two, is it taxable in any way? And I would think that's probably available on the government website,
yeah,
I would
definitely.
think.
Yeah, definitely always worth checking. Like I said, and it could be down to personal circumstances as well, depending, so yeah, it's not something that I've come across that we've had any issues with. But like I said, it's always worth checking yourself just to make sure.
Those who make the decision, the final person or panel or whatever, who are they accountable to?
So if it went to appeal, you will have a representative from DWP, I believe. You will have a representative from Capita who do the medical assessments, a judge and a medical professional. So I'm not quite sure who they are responsible to, but we generally find that a lot of cases are overturned at appeal purely because you've got that broad, you've got that expansive thing of knowledge, between legal from the judge, medical professional. Believe it or not, the people that do the medical assessments are not medical professionals. They research things like your medication and your health conditions. So it isn't until it actually goes to appeal that you would actually even get to speak to somebody with a medical experience, which is quite astounding, really, when you're dealing with people with such broad medical conditions and health conditions. Like I said, if you got to appeal and you still weren't happy with the outcome, there are lots of places, specifically Citizens Advice, who can help you with the next steps for that, and advise you on what you can do to take that further. You're welcome.
Okay, Gemma, we've got another couple of questions.
Hi. My mum here, she gets standard daily living and standard mobility. She had a letter last year to say it was just ongoing now, but her mobility has got a lot worse. One, how do I look into that for? And two, would that affect her whole claim again?
So I'm just going to make I just ask state pension age, did mum reach state pension age, and that's why it's not yet?
Not yet.
So obviously
she's 64.
Oh, go on, sorry.
Yeah, my mum's 64.
Oh, right, okay. So normally after state pension age it wouldn't get reviewed. So PIP again gets reviewed. So you are normally awarded for a set period of time. When that period of time comes to an end, you're reviewed. The only time normally it isn't reviewed is once you reach state pension age, and whatever you are receiving at state pension age continues then on for forever. You can request that it is looked at again by contacting PIP and explaining the change of circumstance. The downside to requesting a review or a change of circumstance is that they will look at the claim again, and there is always that chance that if it's reviewed that the payments go down or stop, not go up as you would expect. Doesn't happen very often, but it's something that I have to let you know that it could happen so that you're aware of it. I would recommend, if you go in to get them to look at it again, that you do it before mum reaches state pension age, because if mum reaches state pension age and you request it, they may ask mum to go over onto what's called attendance allowance, which is similar to PIP, disability payment for people over state pension age. The money that you receive on attendance allowance isn't as good as PIP. It isn't as much. So you could then are at risk of going over to attendance allowance and having a reduction in the amount of money mum receives. So if you go in to request a change of circumstance and maybe request a review of the award, then I would definitely do it now if you're going to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry if this seems like a silly question. It's two questions really. So is there a max on, you're saying that obviously you can claim PIP when working, is there a max on like sort of what you earn, and can you still claim PIP?
No, there isn't a maximum that you can earn while you're on PIP. It's non-means tested. So like I said, it won't affect, your income. It shouldn't affect your income in any way, shape or form. Obviously, depending on what you're doing as well, you can work and receive PIP, but obviously you need to be mindful of, depending on what you're doing for work and how that fits into the descriptors and things. Obviously they would be asking you questions most probably in your assessment about your work and how that affects you, and see if there's any sort of discrepancies in what you're saying about how you're affected each day. They'll probably want to clarify how you manage with work and things, but definitely do not be put off by the fact that you work and claiming a disability benefit. It can absolutely be done and is claimed by millions in those situations.
Okay, thank you. My next question is you keep saying about like medicines and stuff, but my ADHD is unmedicated due to me forgetting to take my medicines. So how would I go about putting that on an application? Okay, so like I said before, PIP isn't actually awarded on disabilities and health conditions or medication. It is based on how your disabilities and your health conditions affect you day to day. They would look at the medication when you fill in the form and cross-reference it and they purely do that, I think, is to make sure that you're saying one thing and see what you're taking, to make sure that medication is right for what you're just saying that you have wrong with your disability or health conditions. If you don't take medication, again, that is not a reason for you to not claim. You mentioned that you do have a possibility of maybe being prescribed some medication that you don't take, and for me that absolutely fits into one of the descriptors about taking medication, is about people that don't take medication and why you don't take your medication. So you would absolutely fit into that descriptor.
and it would be an important one for you in your circumstances.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Any more questions? No, Gemma, I think that is it for questions. So on behalf of everyone here, can I thank you for joining us online? And
no, thank you.
Hopefully we'll get to see you in person at our next ones. Okay,
yeah,
take care, Gemma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye.